Welcome to the Sports Injury Clinic's Facebook Live today. With the Ripco Pro in its 56th year, we thought it was a good idea to talk about some surfing. So today we have with us one of our senior physios, David Scriven. And Dave's going to talk us about how to improve your surfing and reduce your injuries to keep you out on the water. So welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Pip. Thanks for having me.
What are the key requirements of surfing then? Let's just get straight into it.
Okay. So I suppose the key requirements for surfing for a beginner is just getting in the water and spending more time in the water, reading the waves, practicing paddling hard, the quick pop-ups, and then getting your balance. They're the kind of beginner ones. What I wanted to focus on a little bit more was the intermediate to advanced surfers and things that they can work on to improve their surfing. So I suppose the key requirements for those guys are mobility and flexibility through your body, so making sure that your joints are nice and mobile and your back's not too stiff. Having the power through your muscles, so particularly the upper body and lower body, of course. But we differentiate that from just strength or endurance in the muscle. It's more of an explosive kind of action, which we train a little bit differently. Balance is a bit of a no-brainer. You've got to be pretty good with your balance, and also having that cardio fitness as a bit of a base, so that you can keep getting back out there through the waves. So they're probably the main four components in terms of what surfing requires.
Okay, and why are they so important?
Good question. So what I thought we'd do is go through an example of catching a wave and when we use each one. So you're sitting in the lineup, seeing a wave coming across. So at that point, it's all about explosive power through your arms, getting to the takeoff spot, and you want to paddle hard and fast. And it's only a short little burst of energy, which is why it's more power rather than endurance over and over. You get to the spot. It's only from a matter of 2 to 4, 6, 8 paddles to get onto the wave. And then again, power in the upper body for that quick pop-up, so it's a big explosive action. When you get to your feet, going down the wave, getting the bottom turn, we really want good mobility through the body. So ankles, knees and hips in order to get really low and to crouch down as you're going back up the face of the wave. So you'll often see in the beginners and even intermediate surfers, they're a little bit too stiff and rigid, and then they can't quite cut back to get back up the face. You need to get really good mobility through the lower body there. Back to the paddling and mobility, we need the trunk to have good extension so that you can actually get your chest off the board to paddle. A lot of surfers will often see someone in the water who is paddling head down, and it's usually because they struggle with that extension through the back. So sometimes they're age-related kind of stiffness, but for the majority of people, we can increase that range to make them a bit more efficient in the water and paddle a little bit easier. And then you've done your bottom turn. You're coming up to go top to bottom with your surfing. You need good mobility, so you can kind of use your arms to drive that power. So you need trunk mobility, and then also going back to the power of the legs, being quite explosive. So you've done the bottom turn, you've done a couple of top turns, cruising along the wave. Obviously the balance is the no-brainer one that we spoke about. So with most sports, you're on the ground, it's a nice stable base, it doesn't move. With surfing, you've got the wave that's moving, you're moving, the wave's different all the time. So your ankles need to be quite reflexive and strong to keep your balance. And then you fall off at the end. So you need that cardio base to get back out there. And if you're anything like me, you'll land on fall off on the inside there. You have 3 or 4 waves land on your head, come up gasping for air. And then it's at that point that you've got to kind of paddle as hard as you can to get back out there, and that's having that good fitness level to get back out there. Otherwise, you're not going to get too many waves. So I think that's covers them.
So with these things you've talked about then, if people don't have this basic, or maybe they do and they're wanting to go up to the next level, what common injuries would you see as a result of not having this base?
Yeah, so I suppose firstly, surfing is quite a safe sport. In a general sense, we don't see a lot of surfers coming in. It's not our main bread and butter, I suppose. But compared to the traumatic foot injuries, even the pounding the pavement, the runners with their knees and things like that, so surfing's less impact. So it's a good one to get into. The surfers that do come in tend to be like a shoulder kind of patients. So shoulder impingement is a big one, where it's similar to swimmers and paddlers. So they might have deficits in back mobility, or they can't keep their shoulder blades in nice and stable, or they won't have the strength to keep the shoulder joint nice and stable. So shoulder injuries are the one. Any spinal kind of concern, particularly through the mid-back. So that ranges from your sprains and strains all the way to just a stiff back. So if you've got stiffness, we can help increase that. Your basic sprains and strains, so ankle and knees and things like that. So your ankle sprains are a common one also. And then probably the most common surfing related injury, which we don't necessarily treat, is the cuts and abrasions. So hitting the reef, stray boards and things like that. But if any of those happen, then I don't want to see you. Go to your local doc. It's probably the best way to manage that one.
Where does concussion fit into that?
Yeah, concussion. That's a good point. It's probably not as common as your footy, rugby kind of sports, but certainly if you're on beach breaks and you're hitting the sand and things like that, you've got to be pretty aware of if you're getting up dazed and you're feeling a bit unsteady, then you need to get out of the water and go and get it checked, because the after effects can be a number of days, and if you're getting headaches and neck pain, you can get whiplash and things like that. So it's quite important if you do hit the bottom that you go and get it cleared. Yeah,
and is that something as a physio that you
Yeah, certainly we would. I think we generally look at more of the whiplash, the neck injuries. We see if the headaches are related to neck problems and pathologies. But from a head trauma and concussion point of view, it's probably best to see a GP, see a doc.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so how can we reduce this? Have you got some tips for us to...
Excellent question.
Yes.
Glad you've asked. I've got these 5 quick self-check kind of things that you can do just to see what your injury risk is like, and also if you're lacking in any of these, then it's something you can work on, or something we can help you out with. So the first one being balance. So can you stand on one foot for how long? So there was a social media post that was going around recently about a 30-second balance challenge. So for surfers, we definitely want them to be doing closer to a minute. And for the quick test, try and aim for 30 seconds with your eyes closed. If you can do that, you're doing pretty well with your balance. The second quick test is your mobility through your legs. So can you do a deep squat and crouch straight back down, kind of bottom to heels, keeping your heels and your feet flat on the floor. So if you have restrictions in the ankle, knee and hips, then you'll struggle, and that'll affect your ability to get low for the U-turns in surfing. The lower leg strength is another one. So a quick test for that would be sit to stand on one leg. So what we want is single leg, and then we want you to sit down, and stand up a little bit better controlled than that. Okay, so slowly down and slowly up. Okay, so can you do 10 of those nice and slow and controlled on each leg? For your footy type athletes, we want 25 reps plus. But for surfers, if you can do 10 nice and slow and controlled, then I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and each leg's obviously important because you don't want to strength on both sides.
That's right, and we definitely want to make sure that there's not a big discrepancy between the two sides. So if there is, you need to make sure the weak leg catches up and then develop both of them. The fourth test is range of motion through the back. Okay, so what you can do is grab a broomstick, sitting down, arms across your chest like this, and we just want you nice and tall, slowly rotating in each direction. Okay, and I would say at least 45 degrees, and more for the short boarders is definitely a requirement.
And the benefit of using the stick, why?
Well, it just gives us a bit of a visual on, starting here, are we getting to 45, are you getting to 90, as opposed to without it, it's a bit difficult to work that out, so it's just a good visual cue.
Great.
The last test is for your shoulder blade stability, so shirt off, get a partner who happy to show off in front of, 10 push-ups on the ground, and I want the partner to be looking to see if your shoulder blades are poking up and popping up. If you're doing your push-ups and your shoulder blades are moving all over the place, then you've got a bit of a higher risk of that shoulder impingement. So we'd want to check that out.
That's a handy one, isn't it? Because people obviously can't see that on their own. So.
That's right. Yeah. So basically, balancing on one leg, eyes closed 30 seconds, sit to stand 10 times on one leg. Mobility, can you crouch down, bum to heels? Your rotation range, we want 45 degrees. And the last one was the shoulder blade stability. Can you do push-ups and make sure your shoulder blades aren't breaking up in there?
With that first one, what's the importance of the eyes being closed with your balance?
So it just takes away one of our cues. One of the things that we use for balance is vision. So I suppose you've got three components, being the inner ear is a big part of your balance. The other thing is the joints sending feedback to your brain and telling you where you are, and the third one is your vision. So if you take one of those away, it makes it a lot harder. So it just challenges the surfer or the athlete or whoever trying to rehab to make the exercise harder.
Yeah, great. All right, any other tips for our patients?
So I suppose when we're seeing the surfers in here, we'd want to do an individual screening and give you, what's the best thing to improve your surfing. As a general rule, practice your balance, use the wobble boards, use the, standing on a pillow. For surfers, I tend to rehab them a lot with skateboards.
Yep.
So you can practice the calf boards, doing some land-based rehab to improve your surfing. Heel toe, getting down for your bottom turns and turning through. The other one is get strong. So get in the gym, squats, rows, things like that. If you're a stronger athlete, a stronger surfer, you're going to have much less risk of injury, and you're also going to be a more powerful, explosive surfer. So that's a good one. The other tip is maintain your flexibility and mobility, stretching programs, things like that. Pilates is actually a really good one for surfers because you get that the mobility side as well as the core and the balance. So that's a big one. The other point that I wanted to make was practicing with a bit of purpose, and what I mean by that is the majority of surfers, a lot of them are recreational and we do it for fun and we just get out there and you don't, you get to a certain level and you plateau for a long time. If you're having fun and you're enjoying it, then by all means just don't stop, don't change. If you're a surfer who wants to get to that next level, if you're wanting to improve, then you really need to be working on the things that you struggle at, with a bit of focus. So going out there saying, today I'm going to practice my cutbacks, or I'm going to practice floaters or aerials or whatever it may be, and practicing that, falling off and repeat, get it right. And that's the only way we can really get to the next level. If you're struggling on your own, then find a coach. There's plenty of good surf coaches on the peninsula. If you type into Google East Coast Surf Schools, you'll find some really excellent surf coaches. Because I suppose for a lot of sports, you get trained how to serve a tennis ball, you get coached at how to hit a golf ball or kick a footy. Surfing seems to be one where we just get out there and have a go, and you don't necessarily get that feedback to improve. So that's, if you're wanting to improve, that's where I'd be going. And lastly, from a rehab point of view, we always strive to keep you surfing. So if you're having injuries, we don't want to say don't get out in the water. It's usually a matter of, if you're a longboarder, maybe starting with a SUP and progressing to a longboard, or going from a longboard to a shortboard, using your skateboards as the rehab kind of process ticks along, and get them strong. But
as you've said, it's physical activity, so the aim is to keep them going.
That's right.
A lot of people are working, and it's their outlet, and it's
that's
their
right.
bit of activity.
Mental health, all of that side of things. It's really important. The worst thing you can do for a surfer is tell them not to surf. So same as a runner. If you've got a runner coming in and you say don't run, obviously some injuries we have to for a short period of time, but we want to be progressing them slowly, as close to surfing as we can. But otherwise, if you're just happy surfing, then keep doing it. If you want to be progressing your performance, then you can work on strengths and different components to get those improvements.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Dave, for being here today. If anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in here, or we can also access Dave at his email at the clinic, david.scriven@tsic.com.au. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the water, hopefully.